because you want to go to the layer homepage as well and make yourself a publisher as well. That means you're going to get access to your own private content on the phone itself. That's pretty important because you might want to test it. So you go to the layer homepage, create a publisher account, and there you're using like the same Google account again, so we can link those both together in the file. Creating a layer is pretty easy as well. Go to dev.layer.com again, sign in, and you have the link up there, create a layer, you get a form, you gotta fill out some stuff. As I said, you need to give it a name, and especially you need to set up this POI URL. POI URL, that's exactly that link between your layer and your web space. So place it. It's the URL of the script that does the job. So how do we do this? How do we set up this layer service? We gotta go through some code snippets here. I'd really like to encourage you to jump in with questions. We're using PHP, that's fine for most of us. First of all, this is a very basic layer service. It's just a 10-liner, but it works. I mean, you can just copy that, put it on your web space, take the POI URL to your profile, and you have a running layer service. Though it's empty. It doesn't provide any content, but it works. And what is it about? It's basically just an array, it's an associative array that corresponds to the API specifications of layer. Call it dictionary or whatever. And I mean, it's PHP is pretty comfortable. You just throw it into the JSON encoding, which is built in, and echo it. That's it. And you're done. Right? That's easy. And this is basically what it looks like. If you call that script in the browser and you have a look at the response, this is what it looks like. This is JSON encoded dictionary. If you feel like doing it, you can, of course, create that manually. I don't think you want to. Okay, how do we add content? How do we basically add those markers, right? We saw that array has like a hotspot entry in there. That's exactly where we want to add the content. This looks like this. Now, every augment can carry some attributes like a title, description text, footnote, and that's really important stuff, the coordinates. So, talking about coordinates, we have they're called latitude, longitude, and there was a standardized coordinate system. We didn't invent that. It's the World Geodetic System 1984. That basically serves as a coordinate system for every place on Earth. Y-axis goes through Greenwich, Z-x-axis equator. We have the 4 quadrants, and coordinates are built as a tuple, for example, like San Francisco, something like this one. All right, playing with coordinates. So what we saw was we are returning a static POI that sits on a specific location. We can play with location as well because the request that comes in comes with a set of parameters. For example, there's something like user ID. We had something like that before. How can I track? But as well, we do get parameters like latitude, longitude, which is the location of the user itself. And you're probably familiar with that notation. I can get this latitude, longitude of the user, play with it, and use it to create my response. The way I do it here, I just tweak the coordinate a little bit and return a POI that sits right next to that guy. Is that kind of clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. So this one, for example, we're adding a little bit to the latitude, which means like we're putting something a little bit north of the user. Talk about actions. Actions are all about the interaction of the user with that augment. It can be a couple of different things. It can be just a link to a website, but it can be multimedia as well. Actions are represented in the layer browser itself as kind of buttons, like this one. So you get that tapping, you tap on that augment, and then you get this dialog with all these action buttons in there. And as a layer developer, you can easily, enrich your augments with different kind of actions. Again, you just add them as a certain type of attribute, which is all documented on LayoWiki. It's all like predefined to the API specs, of course. In this case, we just give it a label and a URL, and they're done. Same thing with audio. Audio is just an action with a little tweaked URL in there. It's like got a different intent. It doesn't start with HTTP, it starts with audio and refers to an audio file that can be hosted anywhere. You might want to keep in mind that you provide audio files that are like compatible on different mobile devices. You might not want to transfer high-end, whatever, AAC. You might want to downscale a little bit. In terms of bandwidth as well, keep that in mind. We have all the multimedia content that we're trying to, put into the mobile phone needs to go through the air. Coverage is bad sometimes. Yeah.
So in that model, the audio files are just downloaded before, as part of the layer?
No, they're not downloaded before, they're downloaded when I do hit the action button.
When you hit the action button?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So no streaming?
No streaming. Video, same thing. And we had that question before. Yeah, can we can we superimpose video into the AR view, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we can't.
Is that something that might be possible?
Triggers before, that's again just an action that gets triggered based on user behavior, which is in this case not the click on the button, but it's about change of location. So I'm doing it close to something, and then the action gets triggered, so I can simulate something happening while approaching an augment. And this is how it looks like. It's just 2 extra parameters to the action, which is basically a radius around the augment, right, where I need to step in, and then it gets triggered. Okay, I'd like to highly recommend to consider 3D, because 3D is, well, it's a little extra work, but users really highly appreciate it. What we did is we built up the Berlin Wall again in 3D with watchtowers all along the path. And this looks really compelling. How do we do that? Like on the script, it's a couple of parameters in here. Don't want to go into detail with everyone and any single one. But basically, again, it's just a reference to a file. And that file carries the 3D model. Okay? It's a proprietary file format that you need to create beforehand. And you do that with a piece of software that's provided by Layer, which is free. It's a 3D model converter. You basically can use any kind of software around to build your 3D models, like Studio, Cinema, or whatever. And you export your model in a very specific format that's called wavefront.obj. Without explicit user interaction. It will be about handling moving augments. It will be around placing stuff. For example, placing something in augmented reality. We chose this example on purpose. For example, you could imagine placing Easter eggs in augmented reality space. And basically, the coolest, we just mentioned the partner network before, right? The cool stuff about the partner network, and I'm a member of it, is you can contribute to the future development of the platform itself, which is nice. And this is an example for that, which was inspired by some work we did back in spring. Basically an Easter reading service that allowed you to place eggs wherever you are, right? 3-dimensional, audio-enabled, enriched Easter eggs. We needed, back then, we needed to apply some tricks to do that, because we didn't have interaction there. So what we did was, every time you launch that layer, you get surrounded by these shiny, crispy chocolate bunnies. that carried an action which was called place an egg. Hitting the button leads you to a mobile web page that allowed for the selection of an egg, and you could even enter a message, hit the button, and you returned to that layer and the egg was there. So this is a little workaround, you know? So we use these bunnies to have a place to put that placement action to. That won't be necessary soon. Yeah?
That kind of ties into that question I had about that.
Bunny, and this action is a go-to website. So it's a simple link, and this simple link is created, was created just a fraction of a second before when delivering this augment. And this URL behind that action carried the latitude, longitude of the user's position. And it can do that because you get that during the request.
So the layer always has a sticky point, for example. It's a sticky point that uses your current location plus given a fixed offset.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Obviously, the continuous object is a 3D object, but as it's pretty big, we decided to cut it into pieces. So every piece is like maybe a kilometer or something, and it's individually modeled according to how the wall was built. And every piece of that wall is then applied to basically a PY, an augment. So you have like 15 augments, for example, and every single one comes with a 3D model that is actually 1 kilometer big. And one of the main challenges was to put those pieces together very precisely so you don't have gaps in the wall, right? We have tools for that allow us to do that, but that's basically how it works.
Thank you.
Does that answer the question? All right, so we will soon have animations as well. Maurice mentioned it before, pretty interesting texture animation. We already did a project for that, with that one. It was for the Quiznos marketing campaign that put up these glowing toasters at some specific landmarks. How does that work basically? It's pretty easy. It's just texture animation. It's not animation in the 3D model itself. Right, so the texture can be an animated GIF. That's basically what it's about. In case you don't feel like coding and doing all this stuff, there are tools to help you setting things up. A couple of them, like 5 to 10 tools or what. Some of them are open source, some are commercial, different languages, whatever you feel like. All of them require installation of a piece of software on your servers, all but one. The one that we just set up, which is called Augmentation. It's a kind of management system for managed reality, for layer, that runs in your browser, and that allows for creation of AR experiences just by mouse clicks. It features it supports all the features that the AR API gives you. And this is how it looks like. It's all in the browser. You just upload all your metadata, all your multimedia data, you edit your augments in easy forms. There's like a title and description. We've seen that in code before. You can assign images, assign custom icons. You don't even have to host them on your own, whatever, FTP or web server. Just upload it to the Hopper cloud and you're done. So it's pretty comfortable, it's safe, and it's published in real time, and then it's on the phone. No coding, no software installation.